You fuckers.
Just show yourself in the moment. Just let it in what you're feeling. Don't lose your pride, 'cause it's all that they can.
I'm Ham. I'm a glass blower. I've been blowing glass for 14 years. My days start very early. I open my eyes in the morning and I'm awake and I'm excited to be alive and excited to get to work, and I get to work as early as I possibly can. Come to work, somebody buys it, and I get to move on to my next project. I get to do whatever I want and somebody pays me for it. And so it's a fantastic job that I'm anxious to get to each day. The environment around the shop here is a fantastic creative environment. There's a lot of distraction and it's hard to keep your nose to the grind, but the creativity and open discussion that happens here is so good for my work. I have several of my very dear friends who work in here with me. Everybody does their own thing. We're not like a company. There's no boss or anything like that. Everyone's an individual artist. We just work together. My normal day, like I said, I wake up very early. I come in, I'm the first one to work, so I get right to it before I get the distractions of the crowd. I guess it's hard to point out what my daily routine is at work because it's something different every day. Generally, when I'm coming up with some brand new project, I get a thought in my mind of what the finished goal is. For example, on this auto bong here, the goal is a bong that smokes itself with the push of a button. So that's the end goal, and now it's reverse engineer that and make it real. And I have no formal training, but I do have years of doing this under my belt, so I'm pretty good at it by now. So I just find problems and solve them until I have a finished piece. I was fascinated with things like marbles and old bottles, and I had collections. I would carve or sculpt anything I could get my hands on. When I was about 11 years old, I saw some guy at a local county fair or something making little granny craft, and I knew immediately that that was the perfect sculpting medium. Just superior to all other sculptural mediums because you just put it where you want it and it stays there. And so I knew then, at that moment, that I was going to be a glass blower. At the time, glass pipes hadn't happened yet. It wasn't a thing. I was young, so it certainly wasn't a thing for me. But it was my goal. And a few years later, when I was mid-teenager and working full-time, what I did was each tax return, I would go buy one component that I needed for my glass blowing setup. I went and I bought the final components I needed, and I set up a shop and I started blowing glass. And during that time, pipes had become a thing, and now this was new, a budding industry. Several of my friends who were more fortunate than I had already started blowing glass, become successful enough, moved out of town and moved on with their lives. But by the time I started blowing glass, all my friends were gone, there was no influence around, and I started with a welding torch and a bag of dirty test tubes, alone in my garage, and that was it, and I was happy as could be with that. And I started there and built. Over the years, I've worked with several very skilled artists. I've never really taken any classes or training of any sort. I've taught a lot of classes and trained a lot of people. I used to get very frustrated when I first started blowing glass. It would really hurt me a lot when things wouldn't go my way. But you can't perform when you're upset. And when things start going wrong is when you need your wits about you the very most. You have to be able to react and make good decisions. And so I've taught myself to keep my cool even when bad things are happening, because that's when I need my wits the most. And in fact, I tend to get more excited when things start going wrong and I get a hop in my step, and I get even more enthralled with the piece I'm making at that moment. But when catastrophe strikes, you just have to let it go.
Know that